Trump comes out clean in the Mueller investigation.
Great news for America?
Or is it? Let's talk about it. Middle America, y'all. Well, a couple days ago, the big homie Mueller finished his report, and fortunately for us, our president, our commander-in-chief, is not a traitor.
Yes!
Yay!
That is a good thing.
There is no other alternate universe in history in which the citizenry would have wanted their commander-in-chief, the most powerful human being on the face of the planet in world history, to be an agent of a foreign government.
That would be so scary.
That would scare the bejesus out of people. So right now, all of America, all 350 plus million of us are celebrating because our president was found not to be in cahoots with Russia, Mother Russia. But guess what, Sori? There are a bunch of people right now who are actually upset that our president was not in cahoots with Russia. Oh, that's right.
Why? Well, is it because they said that he was and now they're wrong?
Well, the next step after that would be to impeach him, right?
If he was guilty of that.
Right, if they came to a definitive conclusion that he was guilty, then of course, of collusion, then of course the very next thing would be to impeach him. As a matter of fact, I was looking at one of our videos, and there's this guy that's like, sign this growing petition to impeach Donald Trump.
Yeah, I saw that same one.
yeah. Shout out to the big homie, whoever you are. Thank you for the YouTube help, buddy.
It probably didn't help us. It probably went to...
Oh, no, it helped us. We got like 25 cents off of it. So shout out to the big homie. I'll spend the quarter to get a gumball for you. Okay, so look, here's what's happened, okay? For the last 2 years, the leftist media has been going after Trump, hyping up this Russia collusion nonsense. And look, nobody believes... Do you believe that Trump is a squeaky clean guy? Like, you think he's a saint?
No, and I don't think anybody thought that.
Nobody...
That's why people were saying lesser of two evils.
Sadakt. Nobody thought that Trump was a saint. The question in the Mueller investigation...
He never even painted himself as a saint.
Exactly. He never painted himself as a saint. We know about the Trump University stuff and the settlements out of courts and consorting with prostitutes while one of his wives are pregnant and all this just terrible, terrible, terrible stuff. But that is not what the Mueller investigation was about. The Mueller investigation ultimately was about whether or not this man colluded with a foreign power in order to influence, or as Hillary was saying, corrupt our democracy. Now, what was this corruption of our democracy? I mean, in the real world, what did Putin and the Russians do? I mean, ultimately, they had a bunch of bots on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, supposedly it swayed the votes.
It's like...
What? I don't even understand that. Are they saying that these bots made it so that way people thought stuff was more one way than it was another way, and then that like influenced people's vote? Well,
the bots were, consistently saying terrible things about Hillary and misinformation, and of course, when the FBI stuff came out with her and they were investigating her again in the last, 3 weeks before it was time to vote, the bots came out again and were spreading all types of disinformation and terrible things about Hillary and all the rest of it. So
the clips that I saw was literally her talking about certain subjects and then playing it like seeing other things that was actually going on. Like, what were these bots saying? I mean, they were making up lies about her? Is that what's happening?
Some of the stuff was outright lies. Some of it was, do you really want to vote for somebody who's under investigation of the FBI? Yada, 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 yada.
I see.
Right? And so, of course, the Hillary side doesn't want to take any sort of accountability for the fact that they lost the election. The Democrats don't want to take accountability for the fact that individuals like you and I, who would have actually voted Democrat for the first time in our lives if Bernie Sanders was on the ticket.
Right.
They didn't want to take any accountability for that whatsoever.
Right.
They stole the election from Bernie. pushed Hillary up as the candidate, who is the worst candidate in the history of history, and she ran a terrible campaign and she lost. That's why she lost. You had all these Rust Belt states. She went to places where coal was like was the only sustenance for a given town, and she went to those places and said, "We're gonna kill coal."
What? Why?
Well, because of the planet, she's appealing to her green people, which you should do, but completely throwing Middle America under the bus.
Oh, okay.
She wouldn't even go visit these people in the last cycle of her campaign. She didn't go visit them. Meanwhile, Trump, who's 80 trillion years old, his hop, skipping, and jumping like 4 states in 3 days, stumping in Middle America. So here you have all these Middle American people who are abandoned by the Democratic Party,
right?
And now here's Trump running around saying he's going to do something for them. That's why the Democrats lost the election. But could they take the L like grown men and women? Hell no, they couldn't take the L like grown men and women. So what'd they do? Oh, is this giant...
It's the bots. It's the Russia.
It's the giant Russian conspiracy. Yeah. And for 2 years, if you looked at MSNBC, especially Rachel Maddow, God bless her, but Rachel Maddow had the most ridiculous, stupid... She had one where apparently the KGB, which is basically like the CIA, ex-KGB guys, had a secret hidden camera in one of Trump's rooms, and they found some compromising video of Trump with these prostitutes and pee, and it was just this crazy... They had this crazy idea. And of course, Putin was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, well, that never happened. But Rachel Maddow was pumping that conspiracy theory up. Like ridiculous stuff that you'd only see on YouTube made it to mainstream media. Like, unbelievably ridiculous stuff. So any connection between Trump and Russia at all got blown up into this, look at all the dots that are connecting. So for 2 years straight, MSNBC and these people, it was all over the place. CNN had an ex-FBI agent or ex-Russian spy speculating that, Trump was a Russian double agent, that he was a spy for Russia. And as they're reporting this thing, they're not terrified, they're not scared, they're smiling with glee.
That is so bizarre.
And my thing is, where's your loyalty to our country? Because at the end of the day, I was not a fan of Barack Hussein Obama. But if somebody would have said, hey, Obama is in collusion with some African country and he's a double agent of some African country and he's not operating under U.S. influence, I would be like, oh my. And this was happening. All these conspiracy theories were out. Obama's a Muslim, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And of course, it was all BS. There was not even an investigation about it. But if it was a real serious issue where Obama was, let's say he was an agent of Saudi Arabia, and there was some credible evidence, and we spent millions of dollars in an investigation, I would be scared to death for that thing to come out
and say that he was.
And I would be extremely relieved if it came out that he wasn't.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because although I was not a fan of Barack Hussein Obama, I was not going to celebrate the infiltration of my own country.
Right.
Because whether or not I'm left-wing or right-wing or pro-Obama or not, I'm an American before all of that.
Right. So,
as an American, this should be a happy day. But as many people have reported, Miss Maddow was barely holding back tears. She was having
Are you serious?
Yeah, she's having a psychotic episode on MSNBC talking about her trout and her North Face jacket. Just very bizarre situation.
Trout?
Yeah. She was like in some creek and she was talking about fishing for trout or whatever, and then she got the call that the Mueller report got, and so she, it was just very strange reporting. But she had a meltdown, and a lot of leftists today are having a giant meltdown because our president has not been convicted of high treason.
That's messed up.
That's where we are in America. That's why we have the show Middle America. Now, look, we've shot videos here being very critical of Trump. We will continue to shoot videos that are critical of Trump. But the fact of the matter is, I think he's off on global warming. I think that he's, some of the stuff that he does, like we were traveling and he said something crazy about John McCain, who has died.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, McCain is dead, like in the ground, and he is still like basically spitting on McCain's grave.
Yeah, it's just
Trump is probably has about 8 or 9 undiagnosed pathologies. I mean, it's obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But none of that has to do anything with whether or not the man is an actual traitor.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems that our politics have gotten so acerbic that we don't know when to draw the line. We don't even know what good news is anymore. Hello, America! If it comes out that your president was not colluding with a foreign nuclear power, who we've had a cold war with for about 30 or 40 years.
That's cause to celebrate.
This is celebration time.
Put the tissues away. That's wild.
It's not time to be upset. If you love your country.
Yeah.
If you don't like Donald Trump and you want him out, there's a solution to that in about 2 years. But him being a Russian double agent is a worst case scenario. It's not good news. And the point of this entire channel is for us to center ourselves back to what we all have in common, which is the fact that we're Americans. And we're losing it. And it's evidenced by the fact that many of us wanted the Mueller report to tell us that our commander-in-chief is a traitor. Now look, MAGA, we've joked about this. MAGA no longer stood for Make America Great Again. MAGA stood for...
Many are going away.
Many are going away. Because many of Trump's homies are now sitting in jail.
What a wild...
So we know that the man wasn't...
we've been on.
We know he wasn't clean.
Right.
Okay, yes, those shirts are coming. If you want to purchase one, we'll get you the information very quickly. We know that many of Trump's homies are dirty as hell. We know that. But he did not collude with Russia. Now, if you're asking me if Russia affected our election, I would tell you unequivocally, I believe they did. I believe the Russians affected our election. Now, here's the thing. In this entire 2 years, when I see people talking about Russian collusion, I never really see the leftists ask the question, why, oh why, would the Russians want Trump over Hillary? I haven't heard that question get asked. Well, I don't know. Let's see.
One of Vladimir Putin's most powerful supporters, a man who just won big in a parliamentary election in Russia, makes a menacing prediction. Vladimir Zhirinovsky, an ultra-nationalist firebrand who now leads Russia's third biggest party, warns Americans about their votes.
They're voting for peace on planet Earth if they vote for Trump. But if they vote for Hillary, it's war.
Zhirinovsky says Hillary Clinton, quote, craves power, that she'd create panic if elected. Then he goes even further.
If Hillary Clinton wins, it will be the last U.S. president ever.
The Kremlin scrambled to distance itself from Zhirinovsky, a foreign ministry spokeswoman telling CNN that was just his personal opinion.
Now, why, oh why, would this man say if you vote for Trump, you're voting for world peace, but if you vote for Hillary, you're voting for war? Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's because during the Democratic primaries in the general election, Hillary Clinton was war hawking. This is the same woman that said, we came, we saw, we killed him, in reference to Muammar Gaddafi.
Yeah.
Gaddafi over there in Libya. I don't know if you saw the video where Gaddafi was droned by one of our CIA planes. That's open source. That's out there for everybody during the Arab Spring. We droned Gaddafi, and then Al-Qaeda in Libya, dragged him through the streets, did terrible things that I won't mention to him, and then shot him on camera. And the last thing Gaddafi said was, "What did I ever do to you?" And they shot the guy. And then there was an interview with Hillary. Here's the clip.
So, I mean, that is the land of unconfirmed.
Yes, we came, we saw, he died.
Did it have anything to do with your visit?
No, I'm sure it did.
I'm sure it did.
We came, we saw, he died. Ha 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 ha. Did it have to do anything with your visit? I don't know. And she straightens her pantsuit. I'm sure it did. Ha ha ha.
Oh my gosh.
You're talking about destabilizing an entire region over there.
Oh boy.
This was a precursor to ISIS, by the way. Because it went from Egypt, well, it really started with Saudi, but they weren't successful. It started with Egypt, then it went over to Libya, and then it went to Syria.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah. She's a warmonger. She's a war hawk. Even progressive Democrats were criticizing Hillary for being a war hawk. Even Bernie Sanders was criticizing Hillary for being a war hawk. So Hillary was talking about airspaces and such over Syria during the whole ISIS situation, which would have been a clear provocation on the world stage of the Russians. So there's a very specific reason that Hillary was not first on the list for Vladimir Putin. Here's why.
Yeah.
Putin knows that his buddy was talking mess. Putin didn't want no smoke with the US of A. He didn't want no smoke with us, but he also knew that if Hillary Clinton started war hawking on the public stage, that he couldn't back down. And he didn't want to deal with that eventuality, so he did everything he could to make sure that Trump, who was saying things like, I think we need to sit down with Putin and talk.
Right.
Which the Democrats, oh, that's ridiculous. When 10 years ago, when Obama was saying we need to sit down with Arabs and talk, the Democrats were completely fine with that. Of course, Hillary wasn't. Hillary was mocking Obama for being idealistic. This woman is a jihadist. She loves war. She loves killing.
That's not good. You don't want that as a president. You would think that each president would be looking out for the best of his entire nation, and going into a war unnecessarily, if it can be talked out, why wouldn't you take that option?
Here's another video. Here's something really, really, really interesting. This was as recent as February 22nd of 2018. So this clip was just from last year. Look at this.
Bob Mueller's Friday indictment of Russians for election interference is reverberating, even on a night when there are new Mueller charges against Paul Manafort, as well as this roiling gun debate. But Mueller's charges Friday didn't only upset Donald Trump. They're also stoking an important conversation among Democrats. Some say it's long overdue. And there's new words from Bernie Sanders tonight, who's striking a different tone than he did in his very first interviews after Mueller indicted the Russians last week, when Sanders said this was basically old news and the real question was what Clinton did.
Mueller mentioned me twice, our campaign, twice in his report. And I think what he was talking about is kind of old news. It's what most Americans know.
If you and your campaign knew that there was Russian meddling and that it was trying to sow divisions, why not take that directly to your supporters?
I would say that the real question to be asked is what was the Clinton campaign? They had more information about this than we did.
Sanders initially deflecting to the Clinton campaign, which is absurd. These reports are about interference that hurt Clinton and, of course, boosted the other candidates, Sanders and Trump. Now, there is more. Sanders is revising his stance. He issued a fairly unusual 370-word statement to the media, and he said that Russians deserve unconditional condemnation, whether it was the active support of any candidate or active opposition to any candidate. And he adds, this is true of any of the 2016 campaigns, including my own. That was new last night. It's because he came under fire for the initial response, along with Sanders' former campaign manager, Jeff Weaver, who said that the factual underpinning of Mueller's indictment is what? Zero, adding, I have not seen any evidence of support from the Russians for Bernie Sanders. Now think about it. That's not a Kellyanne Conway quote. It's a Sanders strategist refuting the evidence that Bob Mueller just offered. And there's more. On the beat, we have invited Sanders and Weaver on the show. Now, they're not here tonight, but Weaver did give us a new statement tonight.
Do you see what just happened?
Nope.
During this whole Mueller investigation, Bernie Sanders came up because the Russians also were trying to get Bernie elected over Hillary. So Bernie was like, wait a second, I don't got nothing to do with this, fellas. Ask her. She knew about it. I didn't know about it. Now, why, oh why, would the Russians be wanting to help Bernie over Hillary?
They just didn't want Hillary.
Oh, maybe it's because Bernie is also not a war hawk, and Bernie was saying we need to talk to Putin as well. Mm-hmm. So you had two candidates candidates who are saying, yo, let's chill with this jihad stuff. We just got out of one in Iraq and we're still, meddling around in Afghanistan. We got dudes in Africa. That's open source. Everybody knows that now. Like, let's chill. Mm-hmm. And she was the one war hawking. And she's the one that callously talks about killing heads of state. Ha ha ha. And Bernie and Trump were saying, well, let's chill on the jihad stuff. And it just so happens that the Russians wanted Bernie or Trump. Anybody but Hillary. Now, there are 3 candidates: Trump, Bernie, Hillary. Which one of these ones don't belong? And no, it had nothing to do with the fact that she was a woman.
I was just thinking that.
This woman is a war hawk.
Yeah.
She's a hawk.
Yeah.
I bet you anything, if you looked at the Obama Clinton stuff, that the Russians helped Obama overheard too. Let's be real, guys. I agree. The Russians interfered. They tried their damnedest with Bernie. He couldn't get elected. And they desperately wanted Trump to get elected because they were scared to death of the eventualities of what would happen with Hillary. Mm-hmm. These people went on to actually say, one of Clinton's folks actually went on to say that, look, Bernie and Trump are indistinguishable on Russia. February 22nd, MSNBC, we will put the link there yourself. And did you notice the newscaster who's just supposed to be objective and just state the facts, say, of course, that was ridiculous for Bernie to say that. Because MSNBC, y'all are just straight up objective. You're just giving us the news. Stop it. You know what it is. You got a woman out there who's laughing, smiling in her little pantsuit, talking about killing someone in one of the most brutal deaths. I've seen a lot of death, believe me. The way he died was terrible. Now, I'm not saying that Gaddafi didn't do some terrible stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're going to kill him, kill him. But what they did to him was wrong. And she's laughing about it, and she saw the tape, believe me. I know for a fact she saw that tape. She saw how he died, and she made a big joke out of it. This is a woman who's desensitized to killing people. That's obvious.
That's messed up.
She has no problem with and by the way, she was a Secretary of State during the entire Arab Spring stuff, which is why the interviewer said, did that have anything to do with you being there? Mm-hmm. So when she had minimal power, she was going all over the place getting dudes killed. So what do you think Putin's thinking about?
Yeah.
Putin wanted anybody who was willing to speak instead of go to war. Mm-hmm. Hillary Clinton had put it out there that she was willing to go to jihad against Russia. The Russians meddled in our elections. They did everything they could to get Bernie elected. And when the Democrats stole that election from Bernie, they then did everything they could to get Trump elected. Simultaneous to that, Hillary had a horrible strategy. She overestimated the mythological import of her being the first female president. She thought she was going to do an Obama remix. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's the first black president when 95% of black people voted for Obama because we don't think about nothing. Oh, he's black, we're voting for him. Boom. Hillary thought that was going to function the exact same way. So she didn't even believe that she needed to go and campaign to a portion of our country that was in extreme agony, pain, and felt abandoned.
Jeez.
Simultaneous to that, Trump, being the underdog, didn't overestimate himself, and he went on a freaking marathon right up to the day of the election. And that's the reason that Trump got elected and Hillary didn't. And if the Democrats are not, I posted something one time and I put hashtag 4 more years, and that got misinterpreted as me saying 4 more years for Trump. I'm not saying 4 more years for Trump. What I'm saying is the way that the Democrats prosecute their business in the public sphere is not helpful to unseating Trump in 2 years. Because right now, I'm looking at it like, okay, you spent millions of dollars on this. The Trump side clearly won this entire debacle, and instead of the Democrats doing the mea culpa thing and saying, okay, Sadat, it's over, now what they're doing is they're crying on TV, Or they're saying, well, he's not completely exonerated and all this other stuff. And so a swing person like us are going, well, you guys need to get it together. Mm-hmm. On top of the other chaos that's happening in the Democratic Party right now between establishment Democrats and progressives, which we'll talk about later, this is not a good look for the Democratic Party or the left side of America, whatever you want to call yourself. It's not a good look. It's over. It's done. We wasted millions of dollars to try to get this guy when we knew from Jump Street what the deal was. And if you've got a candidate that is so weak that they can be undone by Twitter and Facebook, if your candidate is that weak, then you as the Democratic Party need to invest those millions. Now look, the Democrats didn't spend the money on the Mueller investigation. We did. There's a bunch of kids over there literally starving to death in Yemen. I would have loved for those millions to have gone to those Yemeni kids.
Right.
Or maybe into some health care. Maybe we could have took some of those millions of dollars and helped some single moms with some health care. Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't feel like they need to go abort their kids.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of stuff we could have done with those millions of dollars. No, we spent it on this silliness. And I'm sorry, but these folks over here on NBC look real stupid right now. Oh my gosh. You had okay, so Rachel Maddow, she did the prostitute thing.
What prostitute?
Well, she was saying that Putin caught Trump with some prostitutes, and that's why he's a double agent. She's been implying that he's a double agent. She even shot a video where she was talking about the deep freeze that happened a couple weeks ago. She was saying, what would happen if the Russians messed with our power grid? I mean, just really, really crazy. Jimmy Dore called her the Alex Jones of... remember that dude that was calling that kid a goblin on the street?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, he compared her to Alex Jones.
Oh my gosh.
And he's looking pretty smart right now. Guys, it's over. We need to move on as a country. Democrats need to mobilize. Leftists need to mobilize. They need to figure out what the actual narrative is. You got to figure out the narrative now. You got 2 years. Figure out what the narrative is. Come with a positive message. And put out a strong campaign.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's going to be Trump 2020.
Yep. For sure.
Facts. Terrible, terrible situation. Terrible situation. Look, if you at the end of the day, you're an American, right? By the way, we do recognize that we have European viewers. So shout out to Europe. Much love to Europe. We're going to have... I'm actually working on trying to find a European correspondent so that we can do some videos about what's going on across the pond, because I do think that's important. Mm-hmm. But for our American viewership, you're an American. Your president's not a traitor. This is a day to celebrate. Love your neighbor.
Take care of each other.
Middle America.
We are the media.
Till next time, guys.